Painting doesn't have to be complicated. So today we're going to talk about some things that will make spraying base coat, clear coat easier and give you more confidence. Painting in a spray booth is much easier than spraying in a garage. One thing that can help is putting a light in the corner so that when you're spraying you can see that reflection in the corner and know how much paint you're putting on. If you're spraying in the dark, you're probably going to get runs. Any type of light will work, even a flashlight. Here we have a trouble light set up. Nason base coat is 8 parts paint to 1/2 part activator to 4 parts reducer. So an easy way to mix that up is just start with like a 1/2 cup of paint. We'll just mark it at a 1/2. So we're going to start with that much paint. Okay, we're going to divide that up into 8 parts. So right in half, half, half. That's 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 8 parts. So we need 4 parts reducer. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to do 4 of those guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be your reducer. And then a 1/2 part of the activator. So a 1/2 of one of these spaces. So that space right there, a 1/2, so about right there. So this is going to be your color or your paint. This is going to be your reducer, and this is going to be your activator. So you drop that in the cup, you pour in the paint, pour in the reducer, and pour in the hardener. When it comes to gun adjustments, it doesn't have to be difficult or exact to get a great paint job. Your pattern is right here. If you have it too tight or too closed, it's just not going to work. You're not going to get enough paint. If you have it all the way wide open, you'll get extra fumes and overspray. So it's going to be somewhere right in between, somewhere where you're comfortable. The fluid you can have wide open and feather the trigger if you come to a small spot. Otherwise you're using the full trigger. And then for air pressure, you're going to keep it right around 20-25 psi, or again what you're comfortable with. If you're doing door jams, you're going to turn it down. If you're doing the whole car, you're going to turn it up. Only what you're comfortable with. Again, the pattern is what you're comfortable with. The fluid can be wide open, and the air pressure is what works best for your job. What works best for the job you're working on. The first coat is a light coat called a tack coat, just to give the paint something to stick to. We're going to focus on coverage or coloring in these primer spots. And again, you're going to set the gun to something you're comfortable with. The second coat will be a medium to wet coat, focusing on coverage and making sure the metallic flakes are evened out. And I'm not worried about getting it wet. With base coat, you don't have to worry about getting it wet and orange peel. Here's a close-up shot of that base coat before we put the clear on. And you can see it is somewhat dry. But it isn't going to cause any problems when we put the clear on. The metallic is nice and even. And like I said, it's a little bit dry, but it won't cause any problems with orange peel. We gave the base coat an hour to dry to make sure the metallic flakes stay put. For the clear, we'll give it 2 to 3 coats, the first being a bit dry, and the last coat being wet to the point of running, but hopefully not. The last coat will be very wet, And we're going to make sure by watching it lay down or how wet it's getting with the reflection of the light in the corners. We used a pretty inexpensive base coat and clear coat, and the results are pretty decent. I hope you enjoyed this video on an easier approach to spraying base coat clear coat. If you did, and you'd like to get my latest videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.